if there was a president, if we had to elect a president of evangelical Christianity, you'd be on the ballot.
I don't think so.
You don't think? Who would be the president? You, Toby? Because Billy Graham, it would have been Billy Graham, but he's passed.
Yeah, but you're just picking people from our genre. Is that what?
Yeah, no, evangelical, yeah, because there would be big Catholics. Who's the president of Catholicism in the States? Isn't there
in the States?
Caviezel.
Yeah, maybe he'd be a
Jonathan Roumie. Both those guys. I'm friends with Bo Jesus. How about that?
Those are both the guys that played Jesus in.
I love John. I love both
in the movies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it? Does Christian? If you're going to act in a Christian movie, you have to be Christian, kind of, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, because we saw each other at that premiere with Jesus Revolution, which is unbelievable, by the way.
Yeah,
but you're kind of going to be the spokesperson of the movie. Wouldn't you have to be like what's his name? Who's the older guy? He's Christian, the older pastor.
Oh yeah, we need Chuck Smith.
Yeah, who's he acted by? What's his name? Chuck Smith in the Jesus Revolution. He's famous. Very famous.
He was in, gosh.
Kelsey
Kramer. Yeah.
And he's a believer.
Well, yeah, I think as of lately, I think he had, by what I can tell in his interviews, he's definitely had a conversion.
I wonder if they have like the auditions and you kind of ask them like, hey.
I have no idea.
Because I would say if you're like a backup, like an extra, you don't have to be Christian. But I think the main people are Christian in all the Christian movies, right?
I don't know. I don't see all the Christian movies.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced all of them are, but I think, I think some people who have been in some of those movies, especially the good ones, have been probably impacted by the script and who were the cast, who was the director, and they were profoundly changed, by being a part of that process.
Absolutely. Morgan Wallen, he comes out on at the beginning of his show with just a piano.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lost art because you do that. Do you do that?
I'm getting
parts of the show.
I'm getting ready to start a tour, and I'm going to open up the show just me on the piano.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you.
It's interesting you said that. It's really funny.
Well, we talked yesterday on the podcast about this box. Like boxers come out to these big hype songs and these big these huge intros. Let's get ready to rumble. And like Boxer 2 weekends ago on Showtime came out to Oceans.
Really?
And it was like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's such a different, like you want to lead all the way up, and it's something about a performer coming out. I think his piano just comes up from the orchestra pit, and and everybody's. That's how you're gonna start.
I don't know if I'll be coming out of the pit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me think. What there's always
I did. I mean, I used to do that. I mean, it never came out of the pit. Yeah, I think it actually did come out of the pit back in the day, like the "I'll Lead You Home" tour. I would do it in the middle of the show. Interesting on all those big shows, and I think about "I'll Lead You Home," and that's when I think Jars of Clay was out with me. But it was a massive production, so it was Change Your World, Go West. And then in the middle of the show, this piano would come out in the middle of the arena, and I would just play. And we had all this stuff, so you ask people what they loved the most, going, oh, they're going to love Cross the Gold. They're going to love all this. Oh, yeah. And everybody went, my favorite part of the show was when you were all by yourself on the piano.
Gosh, that's where you connect them. Yeah, because I feel I have all these.
We get all the flash stuff all the time.
All the stuff,
it's like, whatever.
They just want to hear
showbiz.
And it's human. It's like I have a part in my show where the show's 2+ hours, and like I want to say maybe 90 seconds, I go, hey, listen, we're all having a good time here tonight, but I know a lot of y'all struggle with depression, and let me just say that I've been there myself, and laughter is a good medicine, and I've been laying on a bed in rehab, and there's a lot of people that love me and care for me, and all I just wanted to know was that I'm not alone. And I keep coming back to Evansville because but we're in Evansville, and a lot of people think you're alone, but there's a God that loves you and cares about you and wants the best for you. And everybody in the comments goes, I was like, what about the joke I wrote about? They're like,
it was about that moment.
Whatever that was. Yeah. And I feel like the people in Vietnam, there's 22,000 people in there, whatever, but there is that.
There's a connection. There's something Yeah,
And
that
Christian, yeah, and
and I
Christian
and
music is
li
even
and
bigger.
just the music in general, I've said it so many times. I mean, I think it's the most powerful universal language in the world, and how a 3.5 minute song can completely radically change somebody's life. 3.5 minutes.
True. I mean, I bet
Yeah.
everybody's gone to one when they were younger. They were like this. I mean, we're playing the Fox Theater in Atlanta, and my first comedy show, or my first show, was DC Talk
Wow.
at
At
the
the
Fox Theater,
Fox?
because I grew
Yeah.
up in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I had listened to that CD and I knew all those songs. And like my brothers or whoever was in the group was kind of like, I was like, whatever, I don't care about y'all. I didn't care about fitting in with them, or the music was so captivating. And I think I've been doing that ever since, going to see music ever since.
Yeah.
And I said, we talked with Corey Asbury was in here a
Mhm.
couple weeks ago. And I talked about going to a Coldplay concert and now it wasn't Christian, but I did feel something,
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
What do you even call that? Warmth or love or purpose, or I was in it. I was like, and I related to it. I don't even know what it was. It just music is, yeah, universal.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and especially because we tour. If I tour in Canada, I go, hey, do they know like about the stuff we joke about? Or like if I went to Budapest, I would go, I don't think these people know about a McDonald's drive-through. But they go, yeah, they know. They know all the stuff. So you never been worried about that? That the people were not gonna connect with it?
Um, Maybe back in the day, back in the early part of it, but my last 10, 15 years of being there, I don't ever worry about that.
Well, has it become less of a concert and more of like a worship experience as you gotten older? Because the early albums were more
Yeah, and
pop.
I still do those songs too. I still sing "Place in This
Yeah,
World."
dude, we gotta get one. When you ever brought us, you're going to Vietnam. You never thought to call me and we go, hey,
I
just
will
come.
next time.
Who goes out with you? How many
Just my
people?
band. I've got, 4 guys, and yeah, we just make it happen.
I was doing open mics at bars for like $100, and then the church down the street was like, "Come do it here for $500," and I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" Yeah, yeah. And so it
Yeah.
just kind of went in that direction,
Yeah.
right? And then I remember just being like, I was drinking a bunch and making the gamut of bad choices on the road. And I remember every time I would see a line, there was a line to get in my shows, and everybody's like, "Dude, John, look at that. That's just sold out." And it was so much shame
Mm.
because I thought if all these people knew that I was gonna get drunk after this show, they would all hate me. They would all abandon me, and they would all turn their backs on me.
Mm.
And I don't really know where I got that. I did get it from somewhere, the church or growing up or my youth pastor, my parents, but that seemed like you were lost as well, but you never felt like you were like, you ever feel that shame or that guilt?
Oh, yeah, I
You
did.
did.
Yeah, but I wasn't performing, and
Yeah, also true. Yeah.
so, I mean, I was playing an after hours bar and playing in some bands. I played at the Commodore Lounge at the Holiday Inn in Vanderbilt.
Wait, that's still there.
Still there.
You played there? What year?
1978.
Wow. I wonder what
So,
that was like.
yeah, crazy.
That's wild
"You're
that
as
that place is still
cold
there.
as ice,
Oh, yeah. Really?
hot-blooded." Singing all these crazy songs, and oh, man, and that's when I think it was after the last show that I did in September of '78. I was playing with this band called Rose, always a cover band,
Yeah.
and then that's when I've written books about it, whatever, it's crazy, but I snorted something at a little after party at
Yeah.
somebody's house and thought it was cocaine, it was something else,
Maybe there was fentanyl back
and,
then.
my nose is bleeding from both sides, and just, like, and they trying to clean me up, and then I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
Literally thought,
Yeah.
and it took me 2 days to recover, and I knew I knew that that was not my destiny,
Right.
and that there
Right.
was a God, you gotta call my life, and I'm trapped. I'm in a pit, and I can't get out.
I got nothing.
I can't get out. I cannot get out, and
And
you're
if you
gonna.
kept going, you would die.
What's that?
You would die if you kept going.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I just began to. Oh well, I never did that again. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
but I still was partying.
Yeah.
And so that's why I prayed that God would do whatever you got to do. I mean, car wreck, break my legs, just don't kill me.
Yeah.
It's
If I
kind of one of
stay
those
alive.
things.
Yeah.
Just yeah. And
Yeah.
so what happened? He did something totally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I became depressed,
You did.
and
Were you still using then or no?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I kept wrestling with it, and then it was November of '79 as I ended up on my kitchen floor in East Nashville, and nervous breakdown, 3.5 hours convulsing and
Really?
crying and shaking, and I say this, and I know it's true. Abba came, he laid on the floor with me, and I
Oh,
have
make me
and I
cry,
and
man.
I have not been the same since that night in '79. But I'm convinced it was the prayers of my mom and
Gosh.
dad. My
Yeah.
mom and dad, they they knew I was in trouble. They didn't know the extent
Yeah.
of all the stuff I was doing. But yeah, I got up and it's like, wow, what happened last night? And it all changed.
Well, I said, you remember the first time you ever texted me?
I think I do, but I don't know what I said.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
it was the day I got canceled.
yes,
Yeah.
I do.
And I didn't. All right. So like, we had known of each other, and you just said, "Hey, I'll never forget this. It was in like the darkest day of my life, obviously." And you're like, "Hey, it's Michael W. Just want to let you know that we love you and we care for you, and you're not alone." Something very simple like that.
Yeah.
And everybody that did kind of like wouldn't even had my number, so you saw what I was going through
I found your number.
and found and you, but you were so. I feel like everybody that reached out to me had also been in a similar position. Maybe not publicly but they've been to the darkness.
Right.
And that what you're saying on that kitchen floor is the darkness.
Mhm.
Is I always said I looked the devil in the eye. I've looked him in the eye.
Yeah.
And everybody you were so compelled, they go, I don't know him, but I need to reach out to him and offer him some kind of, I don't know him, but some kind
Yeah.
of help or some kind of, because I think you go, I know what that's like. I know what that's like, and it's horrific.
I want to be able to have the ability to speak to both sides. And
Yeah.
so
And they
that's
don't,
why for
yeah.
a long time here, for at least past decade and a half, I've just tried to be neutral. But
Not because you have thoughts, obviously, and
I
so do
thought,
I, and so does
and if I'm
everybody.
pressed, if I'm like,
Yeah.
and especially when it has to do with your kids, your grandkids, and what's their future going to look like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you what I believe,
Right. Right.
but it's
Right.
really not what on some levels. I remember Billy Graham's going, "And what about this? What about that? What about all this stuff?" It doesn't matter what I think.
Doesn't matter.
It matters what the book says. What's the book
Yeah.
say?
Go in there. Yeah.
So I tend to sort of defer everything to what the scriptures
Yeah. You
say.
can see. Yeah. Yeah. What was Billy Graham like?
He was awesome.
Really?
Some great stories with Billy. I would go see him on the great thing of the Billy thing is two things. 1994, he did a youth night at his crusade. The very first time he did it, met with lots of
1994.
opposition.
Or the people out front?
No, all the leadership in the Billy
Okay.
Graham Association, they thought he was lost his mind.
In what year?
This is 94. It's a
Okay.
Cleveland Stadium. And he just said
Stadiums, dude, it's
we're
so
not
many
reaching
people.
the next generation. With our programming, we're not reaching these kids.
Okay.
And he said, I want to have a rock concert. He said, I want Michael W. Smith and DC Talk. And
Yeah, that's probably where I got
there was
saved, dude.
80,000 people in that stadium.
Dude, people don't understand how
And
many people that is.
that's a lot of people.
So
and
you
I watched 10,000 people. I thought 10,000 kids come forward. And I heard the best message I thought that Billy Graham had ever delivered. Very, very thought out, speaking to kids and speaking to that generation.
what stadium?
Cleveland Stadium, Cleveland, Ohio.
Outside? Okay, because I saw it at the Georgia Dome. I was
Okay.
probably 10
Okay.
with Carmen.
Okay. What year would that have been?
94.
Okay.
Maybe 92.
Okay.
And I remember we've talked about this before because we did a joke about how I went to this church over New Year's and they said they're over Christmas Eve and it said text in to get saved. And I go, seems like it's getting too easy to get saved now because you can just text and you don't have to say it out loud. You kind of whisper it. You don't have to raise your hand. Everybody's eyes are closed. I go, I remember you're in section 300 and you want to get saved. You had to come down there.
Yeah.
That takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Long walk.
And I think the floors were empty.
Yeah, they were.
Because they were anticipating so many people coming down there.
Yeah.
Wow. And where were you? You were at side stage?
I was on the stage. Sitting
playing.
Beside. No, I'd already played. So DC Talk played. I played.
My whole thing was opening for you.
They were yeah. And my whole thing was just to prepare people's hearts for what he's going to say. That's my job, you know.
So for what Billy was going to say. Yeah.
And I did a ton of youth nights. And then, you know, he retires and then I'd go see him in his home. He'd always pray for me. It's like, oh my gosh, we had a lot in common. 5 kids.
Charlotte, right?
Asheville, right? Black Mountain, just right outside of Asheville. Yeah. So then I go up, and then the last 3 times I went, he was too weak, and I would take my piano and I'd set it beside him, and I'd just play all his favorite hymns.
Gosh, dude!
And then he was too weak, and so I would put my hand on him and I'd pray for him. It's like this is so surreal, you know.
Like the whole,
and then I think the last time I saw him was 2 months before he passed.
And you played at his funeral.
I did.
What song?
Above All.
Oh. I wonder how many people walking around this country have been or their lives are changed because of that. Because of that. What kind of years would it's every artist has a good 6-7 year run where they're just on top. Like that was from when to when Billy Graham was doing. I mean, could you imagine today if an evangelist was doing stadiums? I don't think we'll ever see anything like that. Maybe. What years was that?
Well, the youth night. Well, he's been doing it since the 50s. You know, the 60s in L.A. and he'd stay in L.A. for months, like 2 months, 2-3 months in L.A. A tent full every night, 3 months. Crazy stuff.
Okay,
but when my first thing with him was in the late 80s, but then it was the youth. We got to be friends, and then the 94 thing. That's when he began doing the youth nights. It was every time he did a crusade in the city.
Yeah,
there were Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but Saturday night was youth night.
Yeah.
And that
and
was.
How would you tell? What would he say, or even you say? Like I struggle with having sold out shows and getting an ego. Or what would Bono say about how do you not think you're better than people? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If everybody's we're flying across the world to see Michael.
Yeah, you know what? I think as you mature in your faith, you realize really fast this is not about you.
Okay. Well, let's start.
I love that for every deep question, he's just got a one line, shut it down.
It's not about you.
I feel like I'm on the kitchen floor. He's like, hey, John, you gotta.
He's like, check the book.
You gotta get it together.
But I think as a celebrity, and I think as anybody who's on a stage, it's something I think probably every artist has to deal with on a nightly basis. Going, all right, there's either 3,000 people out there, or there's 22,000 people out there. And so every night I just say, Lord, I want my posture to be beautiful.
Yep.
And I want to walk out there with extreme humility and be able to, if there any glory that's coming my way, I'll be able to deflect it.
Yeah.
And sort of deflect it toward you and not go, hey, I'm the, so, but I think we have really interesting jobs, when people come to hear us. And so you got to keep it in perspective. And Billy was good for me in regards to that sort of thing,
I was in rehab. I was sitting on I was sitting on a bench. It was in Arizona, and we were looking out all over the whole desert, and it looked very dangerous. That like I was just gonna shut down all my social media and just move out into the country and play golf and have a garden or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to go back and face all this or I'm out. Right. And I was sitting there, and instead of God sitting like against me, he was sitting on the bench with me. And he was also looking out at all of it. And he goes, this looked pretty dangerous out there. I go, yeah. He's like, might be some opposition, might be some hard conversations to have, might be some, it's not probably all going to go well. But he's like, if you want to go, I'll go with you.
I mean, yeah, sure, it was a little weird, but on the net, it was a positive. It was a positive. You cannot be serious. On the net, it's a positive.